Hi and welcome to another Supanova Podcast today. I have the extreme pleasure of talking to someone who is not one but three roles in the upcoming Hellboy movie due out in Australia on DVD on December 31st, Mr. Doug Jones. The man, the mystery, the mime.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, does it have to be the three M's? Yeah.
Well, I love alliteration.
Yeah.
Alliteration is always fun for me. It's a habit.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the mime part. That's I'm gonna put my head on my chin here, or my chin on my
Just
hand.
rest.
Yeah, and think about my mime days, and be embarrassed for myself.
Can you tell me about your mime days inexpressive mime? What was it like being a mime?
It was. No, I think most people don't like mimes. I don't know if you're aware of this concept that
I have heard.
mimes
What's
equal
this?
evil. But you know, there's not. I think mimes get a bad rap, probably because it's not the sit down stage performing mimes that do sketches and whatnot for an audience. It's the ones who follow you around the park.
The freelance mimes.
Yeah, the ones on the street. We call street mimes. Yeah, which I did for a summer at a theme park in Cincinnati, Ohio. And it was the most horrible summer of my life, just because you're following, you have to entertain people on the street as they're coming and going. They don't want you there, and they're on their way to the next roller coaster, and you're like going, let me open the door. They don't care.
No.
They don't care, and a lot of those mimes do mimicry, where they'll sit just like you and try to be funny.
See, I'm uncomfortable already.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, nobody wants to be followed around, mimicked. Like, they're eating an ice cream cone, so I will too. It's not funny. It's just not funny.
Now, I found out something interesting as I was doing my research for this interview.
Oh dear.
You have a long history of being in costume. You were a mascot.
Oh dear. You're bringing back all my glory days, aren't you? Yeah.
Was it one of those big fluffy head mascots?
I was a cardinal. I was a bird. In a big bird suit for Ball State University. I was their basketball mascot for 2 years during my uni days, as you call it down here.
Indeed.
Yeah. And I was, I think that was my first time in a big costume, something that was very not human. And I learned quickly that like, in order to make that bird come alive for people, I had to take on certain characteristics that, and play through, layers of fuzzy red suit. And it had like little yellow tights and big yellow floppy feet.
Terrific.
I've got great bird legs. I don't know what I'm saying. You've seen bird legs. They're very thin.
Very thin.
Yeah.
So, straight to Hellboy and Hellboy 2. How did you get in with, how did you meet Guillermo del Toro? Oh, I hate saying his name.
No, bless your heart. And I have yet to meet a journalist who knows how to say that name.
I was taught how to say it because we had him on a video conference, and I was taught how to say it, but it left my head.
Yeah. Oh. Well, Guillermo del Toro. It took me a while too.
Mr. Del Toro.
Yeah. It's the two L's that throw people. But Mr. Del Toro, which means of the bull. And so he's got lots of jokes up his sleeve about that. Anyway, I met him in 1997. One of those jobs, I get referred for a lot of movies from the creature effects makeup people who are designing the creatures. And so I got a phone call about coming to do some reshoots for a little movie called Mimic, which was Guillermo del Toro's first large budget studio American film. He'd done a lot of work in Mexico of his own before this, and I didn't know who he was, and I didn't know what the movie was. I just knew that I got a phone call that day for a night shoot that night. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I'm free. Let's do it. So I ended up getting downtown Los Angeles, and there was me in like this little kind of like bug suit sort of looking trench coat, looking like, the bugs in that movie took on human sort of form. Mimic. See, that hence the name.
Oh, I get it now.
Isn't that right?
It's
And there's some mime in there too. Mimic, mime. Oh, you're tying it in.
multi-level.
Look
It's
at
like an
you.
onion.
Yeah. That's a real journalist, folks. But I ended up working on that movie for 3 days. And on my second day, Guillermo del Toro sat at the lunch table across from me, like this. And he said, so tell me everything you've been in before. And so I started listing off movies, and he goes, oh, and who did the makeup for that? So I started talking about the monsters I played and what makeup artists did it, and listing off names like Stan Winston and Rick Baker and Greg Canham and Tony Gardner, names Oscar-winning makeup artists, and he was like, "Oh, I love his work." Then he told me that he started as a creature effects makeup artist himself in Mexico, and a lot of the movies that he made, short films and features in the Spanish language, were had these kind of creatures and makeups in them. He would make some of them, he would wear some of them, he would direct, write. As he said, would be the gaffer and the caterer as well. He was just like it's an everything kind of a movie maker. So this is why he was just like so interested, and that was a very atypical discussion to have with a big film director. Because I was sitting across the table from an 8-year-old fanboy. You know what I mean? And I kept thinking like, what is security? Well, I think one snuck in. It's that kind of a feeling, but that was endearing, really endearing. That like the director of a huge film was this approachable and this much of a fan, and he really is a fanboy first, and he makes movies that he wants to watch, and therefore people who are fans like to watch his movies.
So it comes through in the work.
Yeah. And so what happened was he asked me before that lunch was over if I had a card on me, and I said yeah, and I did, and it was this card that I did a drawing of myself on this. I'm not an artist, but it was like a profile of me going, and out of my mouth was coming my phone number. So he went like, "Oh, that's great," and he put it in his wallet. 5 years goes by, and it's 2002 now, and I get a phone call again in my kitchen phone. Hello, at like 9 o'clock at night, and some creature effects makeup people were out to dinner with a director, and were calling me to say, Doug, we were just talking about you. Well, apparently earlier that same day, what had happened at the creature effects shop, they had completed the maquette, the sculpture design for a character that was going to be in a movie that was a comic book adaptation called Hellboy, and this creature was Abe Sapien, the blue fish guy. And when they got done with the whole sculpture, the sculptor artist himself that did the maquette was a wonderful, brilliant sculptor named Jose Fernandez, and he was there with Steve Wang, who designed the makeup design also, and there with Mike Elizalde, who was the owner of Spectral Motion Creature Effects Shop, who's done tons of work as himself. I've worked with all of them before, and one of them says, "That looks like Doug Jones." And the other one goes, "It does." And the other one goes, "Oh, he's perfect for this." Guillermo del Toro was invited in that day to approve this. Right. And he's listening, saying, "Doug Jones. I know Doug Jones." And out of his wallet came my card 5 years later. So that's kind of how that story came together. And that's how Hellboy happened for me, and that's what really cinched up my relationship with Guillermo, was working on that first Hellboy movie then. So then after that came Pan's Labyrinth, where he came back looking for me and told me nobody can play the fawn but you, which is very, very intimidating, I might add.
No pressure.
Yeah. And it was going to be in Spanish, and so it was like, oh, so Pan's Labyrinth became one of the most difficult jobs I've ever done, but the challenge in a great creative way and all of that. And then coming back to do Hellboy 2 was another blessing that we were able to do that. So Guillermo wrote such a beautiful role for me in Hellboy 2. Abe Sapien, he expanded it so much, and then also wanted me to play the Angel of Death and the Chamberlain characters. So I'm doing double, triple duty in his movies now. In Pan's Labyrinth, I also played the Pale Man. This guy
with the eyeballs and the hands.
Right. So the joke is, in Hellboy I played one character. In Pan's Labyrinth I played two characters. In Hellboy 2 I played three characters. So whatever's coming next, if people are wondering, oh, is it going to be four now? Do I just keep going up until I'm playing every character in the entire film?
Cast in Frankenstein.
Yeah. Oh, right. Frankenstein. Yeah. Someone's hinting on rumors now, aren't they?
Yes, there's a story behind that.
There's a story behind that too. Yeah. Do you want to hear it?
I'd love to.
Okay. Well,
tell me the story.
Well, the fun part of this one is that there's nothing to talk about at all, right? And yet, rumors afloat that started by Guillermo del Toro himself. This is what I love about him, is that he's a rumor starter about himself. Before there's any news to talk about, he's freely talking about whatever's on his mind, which again makes him very approachable and very lovable.
Very few directors will do that. Yeah.
Exactly. We're on the red carpet of the Hellboy 2 premiere. And I'm walking down and the press line talking to all of the journalists and TV people and radio people, and there's a guy there from a print media with a tape recorder, and he says, Doug, I just talked to Guillermo about 20 minutes ago, and you know what he said? I'm like, And he said he wants to do his own adaptation of Frankenstein. So I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the perfect director. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, he could do wonders with that, story. And he goes, oh, but that's not all. I asked him who he wanted his Frankenstein monster to be, and he said Doug Jones. I go weak in the knees, I turn pale, I'm like, yeah, me? What? So, so that was a great little sound. Now, Guillermo's never talked to me about this, and nor will he until it's time to talk about it, which is years from now. You know what I mean? So it's really, all I can talk about it is quoting everybody else. It would be a dream role, I'm not going to lie about that. But for Guillermo to get me excited and have an actual talk about it that makes it semi-official would be to get my hopes really high. And then if we can't make it for some reason, I would be crashed to the earth, and I would be like, not really, I would never do it. I'm just saying. It would be.
But you would mime it really well.
I would mime my own death very well. Yeah. But yeah, when I'm asked about like what would your dream role be, that's one of them right there. A different kind of Frankenstein too. It would be, I need to go back and read the book. I imagine there've been several books, of course, but to discover, explore the tragic, victimized side of this monster,
Instead of the lumbering monster.
Instead of the lumbering big guy who's intimidating, it would be more of the tragic, withdrawn, soulful-eyed, guy who has a lot to, and about his relationship with Dr. Frankenstein himself, too.
And that was one of the things I enjoyed most about Hellboy 2. The Abe character just got so much more territory to cover, and the sensitivity of Abe and all that sort of stuff was thoroughly enjoyable. And Inebriated Abe was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on film.
Didn't see that coming, did you? Yeah. Well, in Hellboy 2, I'm just so thrilled to give the audience more of Abe. I was thrilled that I was given more of Abe. He's an endearing character anyway from the first Hellboy movie, but it was more of a one-note thing. He was there to facilitate some storyline for everybody else. He was there to offer his power to the BPRD team, which is his intellect. He's an encyclopedia, and also his clairvoyant power. He can tell everything. I could tell where this shirt has been before you had it. Oh, I see. You weren't wearing this about an hour ago.
I bought it in Chinatown in LA, so maybe I don't know where it's been.
So that was established, but in Hellboy 2 we got to see more of that relationship thing, and I think that's what really sells the Hellboy franchise, is the relationships and the family-like feeling that we all have with each other.
Much more familiar.
It is. It really, and what sets us apart from others, superhero comic booky kind of movies, I think, is that there is a few things but including that it's a darker there might be horror film elements in our movies, lots of monsters that you wouldn't find in like more glitzy type mainstream comics, and there's an audience for all of it. That's the good part. There's an audience for all of it, and they're all legitimate. But it's the family feeling, and it's also the heroes in these stories, in the Hellboy stories, are they don't have an alter ego. Hellboy doesn't get to be Bruce Wayne or Clark Kent by day. He's stuck in his demon look all the time, and that's why he's sawing off his horns, and he wants to blend in, but the poor guy can't. Abe Sapien, same thing. He's a half fish, half man mutant. There is no mask to take off, and now you don't know who I am. No, we're all like that. So it's that freak of nature feeling that every human being can relate to. Even when I was an adolescent, I was a very tall, skinny kid. I know that's very hard for you to believe.
Really?
Yeah, but I was, and I thought for sure that I was the only one that ever felt like I didn't fit in. And other kids can be cruel and all that. So it was, it's very easy for all of us to feel like, I don't fit in. I'm the only one, and there's all these people out there having a party and I'm not invited. That's kind of that feeling that we've all had at some point. And you don't realize that we've all had that feeling until you get into your 30s, I think. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you felt that way too? Oh! So the Hellboy universe kind of like lets us all celebrate the freakiness of ourselves, and that's okay. And Guillermo del Toro and Mike Mignola as a comic book creator too, collaboratively, have created this world where monsters and creatures that don't look quite human help tell a human story and help us all tap into our human needs, desires, wants, decision-making, choices, living with our choices, and the repercussions that come with that, good and bad. All that's embodied in the Hellboy universe, and I think that's why our audience, is very devoted to us, and I love you for that, by the way. Yeah, and in Hellboy 2 also, Abe Sapien. So with all that in mind, Abe has more buddy brother time with Hellboy. He's got more brother sister time with Selma Blair's Liz Sherman. And the love interest with Anna Walton playing Princess Nuala.
Yes,
that was that was my favorite storyline of all. Was this innocent love thing that happened for Abe? Never felt that before. He's been this and he's been this, but this, what is that? It's a heart that's beating and that wakes up and that like whoa. So to revisit that. I'm a 14-year-old idiot picking my nose and like, I'm in love? I've never done this before. And how stupid that makes us, and that kind of, when the BPRD team is depending on Abe Sapien's intellect, and that intellect is compromised, it puts the world at peril, as you'll see in Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, coming out on DVD December 31st. How's that for an ad? Yeah?
Very smooth.
Yeah, I know.
This is also the first time you've got to play Abe more completely. In the first movie, you were just the guy in the suit, and they brought in a big name, basically, to help sell the film. Then you got to do the voice of Abe in the cartoons. This is, in Hellboy 2, it's your Abe, completely and purely your Abe. So, and David Hyde Pierce recognised that from the first film and didn't even want to take credit for doing the voice. So.
He did something very sweet that actors don't normally do. We're a very ego-driven business, and when he was brought in to voice over Abe Sapien from Hellboy 1. He heard my original performance in his ear, saw my original performance on the screen, and said, "What am I doing here?" So, so with that, he went ahead and did his job that he was hired to do, and did it very well. I love David Hyde Pierce. I think he's a brilliant performer, brilliant actor, and I never had any qualms with that. It's just that any actor doesn't want to see that any part of his performance taken away. I laid my heart and soul on film, and then my voice is missing now. That was my selfish world. The bubble. It's all my globe. So my world is rocked.
An artist making a sculpture, and then someone comes up and chops the head off and sticks someone else's work on there.
That's kind of right. That's how it feels.
Something missing.
That's how it feels. Yeah. Even if it's a pretty head, it's not your head. It's like, well, that's not what I sculpted. So exactly, that's kind of the feeling. So, but when it came time to do press and whatnot for Hellboy 1, David Hyde Pierce backed away from it all. He didn't do any interviews. He didn't show up at the premiere. He also refused taking the credit in the movie itself. So his name doesn't show up in the credits anywhere. That's because, and when asked why, he said that's out of respect to Doug Jones. So I never could have asked him for that. I never would have asked him for that. It's just something that he offered out of the goodness of his heart, which was above and beyond. And then coming time to do the Hellboy animated Sword of Storms and Blood and Iron movies, he was offered the voice of Abe Sapien and politely declined. So by then it had already been discussed by Guillermo that he would want me to have my voice in Hellboy 2 if we get to do that. But this animated thing was an interim thing that was like, oh, we didn't plan on that. So that worked out really well, that I just went ahead and did that voice, and that was a nice segue into Hellboy 2 where I could just keep that going. And the fan response, again, thank you.
That had to be nerve-wracking.
I was terrified. Yes, I knew that the animated, the first Sword of Storms was going to be on the Cartoon Network on a certain day, and the next day I'm like, And I was up in Canada. It didn't air there at the same time, filming something else, and I was at an internet cafe the next day, looking at message boards, and you know how you web people do, and all of the comments and things, and it was like lovely, 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 lovely. Not one negative word about my voice at all. In fact, everything was glowing, and they should have used my voice all along. Like, oh, really? It was really sweet, and so that gave me a boost of confidence to go into Hellboy 2 when we did finally start filming the sequel, to know that like it was going to be all my performance staying intact. The baby in my arms was not going to have his legs ripped off, and it was going to be okay. So that's a nice thing.
Along similar lines to the Frankenstein thing, there are more rumors about you and Guillermo. Guillermo, Mr. Del Toro working together in the future. The Hobbit, of course.
Yeah. Yes. This is the number one question asked of the day. So. It's a question that Guillermo gets asked as well because of our association with each other after 4 movies. Ron Perlman gets the same question too, because he's been he's done 4 films with Guillermo as well. So the question is, and this question was, and again, Guillermo and I have not talked about it, so I have nothing official to report about it. However, I can tell you what everyone else has been saying, including Guillermo. And a lovely quote of his, we were on the red carpet of the Saturn Awards. See, all the news that I hear happens on red carpets.
I think he's figured out it's a good place to start rumors.
That's right. So I go to every event I can just to see what's happening in my own life. Yeah, no. Right?
Find out what he's got in mind for you next.
Exactly. So we were on the red carpet during the press line of the Saturn Awards, which is kind of like the for those who don't know, it's kind of like the geek Oscars. It's for the sci-fi, horror, comic book genres. The on-camera interview, and I was there to present a couple of categories that night. Guillermo was there to receive something of a Lifetime Achievement Award, which was premature at age 43, I would say, but they love him that much. So he joins me in my on-camera interview that I was already in progress. And I go, hey, blah, blah. Journalist says, so Guillermo, what do you have for Doug and the Hobbit? Right now, we have not discussed this, so I'm kind of like, this ought to be good. And Guillermo said, well, of course, I'm sure you'll be seeing Doug in some kind of pain and torture. So we all chuckled, and I said, business as usual. And then he said, I have nothing official to report, but let me say this. If I direct a hemorrhoid commercial, Doug Jones will be in it. So I think that's our answer, right? So I have no idea what The Hobbit would hold for me or could hold for me, and I will let Guillermo figure that out with him, among him. Once the script gets written, that's what they have to work on first. They're working on a script now, and he has also been quoted saying that the pages need to tell him who plays what, right, and all that. So that's not been decided yet.
Well, I think given the secret formula we were talking about before, you're at least up for 5 roles in it.
So let's hope so. No, but I would love to. Again, I'm at the point with him as a director. I trust him implicitly. I trust anything that he makes turns to gold artistically. And if he asks me to take a dump on film, I will take that dump. And know that he will turn it into something beautiful and artistic that we'll be talking about next year. I don't know, on a red carpet. I won't do it on the red carpet, though. I'm just saying. Did I just get really off color here? We took it to the toilet, didn't we?
I think we're safe with it. See, look, you've derailed me.
Yeah.
I've got nothing left. My train of thought has skipped tracks.
Off a cliff. I know.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, really. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, and I can hardly recommend everyone out there watching this go get Hellboy 2 on DVD. December 31st.
Yes.
In Australia.
And lots of bonus features beyond. Any Guillermo del Toro film has bonus features galore. And there's going to be the basic set. There's going to be the 2-disc, the 3-disc, the Blu-ray, the HD, the hoo-ha, the hee-ha, it's going with all options different on each set.
Oh,
so
I'm going to have to buy them all.
Yeah. In the behind the scenes, there was a videographer on set with us all day, every day.
Wonderful.
Catching, so I can't wait to see the documentary.
Every moment's there.
Oh my gosh. And as far as commentaries go, if you're a director's commentary kind of lover, Guillermo's are the best.
Yep.
He gives fantastic commentaries. So there's going to be a lot, and you also get to see some of his artwork and concept art and how these creatures came about and all the kind of all that making of, watching the makeup process for Ron and me.
Finding out about the 6 hours you spent in the chair.
Yeah. So it's going to be a behind the scenes, geek fest. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much
much
again.
Thanks.
And thank you guys for joining us. Catch you next time.